So the Amazon is on fire, but is it that bad?
The lush green of the Amazon rainforest rapidly being eclipsed by devastating wildfires.
In years covering wildfires, I've never seen anything on this scale.
It's claimed animals, vegetation, and human life.
Even if it stops or slows down, the destruction has set in and the forest begins to die.
So we understand that this is a little bit off topic for us, but I hope you'll indulge me because actually this is something I'm immensely passionate about, as with any ecological issues at all. I, much like the rest of social media, was outraged that the Amazon was on fire, and that was the worst that it had ever been, and must admit that I was sucked in equally. I commented on posts and I did my thing, because actually it felt like this was a actual massive disaster. However, I love researching stuff, so I thought I'd have a little look into it. And a lot of it was actually sparked by, I did some research into wildfires in Britain a few months ago, and there's a lot of parallels in this story to the one in the UK, in that a lot of the things that are stated just simply aren't true. But before I proceed, it's also worth stating that I am stating the following in no other way than to present some alternative facts and figures onto the table that mainstream media just seem to have not ignored but have put out very minor pieces on, because it's not as exciting telling the truth always. Fact one is that yes, as much as the Amazon is burning, there are a lot of wildfires in the world. And actually, from the period of 22nd to 23rd of August, there was 7,000 fires in Angola. That was in Africa, versus 2,000 in Brazil, and just over 3,000 in the Amazon in total if you take Bolivia. And in fact, if you look at this graph, you see Angola had 7,000, the DRC had 3,000, Brazil had 2,000, Zambia 1,000. So Zambia had half in that day what Brazil had, but nobody cared too much. And it almost seems that, like with everything in Africa, people don't really worry about it unless it's to do with fluffy animals. Australia had 800 fires that day. If we look at this on the whole, wildfires happen in these hot countries. It is a completely natural process. But it's just this fact one stating that there are more countries in the world that suffer horrendous fires than just this. Point number two is that most of the fire information we have all relate to Brazil as a whole, not the Amazon. The nearly 80,000 fire figure in fact relates to all fires. And so it's worth saying that it includes those on agricultural land that has been taken from the forest. So a lot of clearance, a lot of maintenance work, a lot of controlled burns will be involved in that 80,000. So it's not actually an accurate picture to think that the forest is burning on the whole, because actually a lot of these fires, as I've said, happen on agricultural ground. To further this point, nearly 80,000 fires. What is a fire? Are we talking 80,000 barbecues or 80,000 infernos? Unfortunately, Brazil doesn't have a acreage burnt measuring system, unlike some other countries, so actually that makes life quite difficult in terms of really pinpointing the damage, because a wildfire might wipe out an acre, 1,000, 10,000, a million acres, and that actually has almost as much bearing as the fires themselves. So if we look at the figure that says that 80% of the rainforest still exists, that takes 20% into agricultural land, and that agricultural land can have quite a lot of those fires on it. Point number three is that wildfires are not always bad. The clue is in the title, that it is a wild fire. A lot of the reason that we do not like wildfires is because they are outside of our control and they are large and they are destructive. However, it is very much worthwhile knowing that wildfires can boost biodiversity and are an important part of any ecosystem cycle. And secondly, that they were around a long time before we were here and will be around a long time after we're gone. We are inherently scared of these large fires and anything that is outside of our control, and as such that the wildfires are scary. We had a few in England, and Christ, they would have been absolutely awful if you think about it. Something that we can't control, but it is natural. Well, this is it. It becomes a nature-human conflict, doesn't it? For those of you who say that this was arson, well, the jury is still out on that. No doubt there is some human influence here, and humans will clear rainforests for their own use and so on and so forth using fire, but I would have thought out of the 80,000 fires that actually that small case is probably a very small sampling, I would have thought. But like I say, until anyone can actually prove the fact that any of these were arson to me, or at least give us better evidence than a fake video, well, That'd be great. Obviously, burnt rainforest is really bad, and I want to make myself clear here that I do not like the idea of the rainforest burning. I would love to visit it one day and spend some time there. However, if something is natural, it just needs to happen. You know, that's the way it is. It is a wildfire. But what we're about to get onto in point 4 is actually kind of proves that it's not that bad this year. So point number 4, this is the worst year of wildfires ever, blah, blah, blah. It's 84% up on last year. Oh, it's absolutely crazy. Until I tell you that it is only 7% higher than the 10-year average, and it's actually slightly less than the 15-year average. And if I told you in 2005, it was double what it is now. Double the amount of fires in 2005 than it is now. I think as a culture we've learnt to jump on stuff really easily because of the way that we've been affected socially by social media and how that's affected us. And I think this really is a case in point to show that a small bit of research actually shows a bigger picture than we're being shown, and that has been hyped and blown out of proportion by ourselves and by our lack of desire for research and general desire for, you know, scandal and excitement in that department. And that obviously relates to a lot of things that are going in England at the moment, both ecologically and in the shooting world and politically in that sort of environment as well. Well, that's it really, and I will finish on one final note, and that is to say that Brazil is Brazil's, and they are obviously their own country, and they can do what they want. If we look at where we've come in the past agriculturally and economically and socially in England over the last 500 years to where we are now, we've had our own development, we've changed our countryside and all that, and essentially that brought a lot of stuff into us, and that being education and healthcare and civilization, for lack of a better word. And unfortunately, with agribusiness that makes up 25% of Brazil's GDP, soy farming saves communities. It brings money into the countryside, and it really makes these rural communities modernise. And whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know, but people having healthcare and education is never a bad thing. And unfortunately, having a country with this great resource, which is the earth, that is covered in forest, well, it's going to be up to them as to what they do with it. You know, the rainforest, the Amazon rainforest in Brazil at least, has a 60% protection around it. So there's only an 18 to 20% more rainforest that is going to disappear for agriculture. To say that it's the lungs of the world, well, I mean, that's just a bit bent, actually, as information goes. We're not going to go into that today. However, grass still holds carbon, the ground holds carbon, there is still carbon storage in the agriculture that they do. It's very easy to superimpose your morals on someone without superposing your situation and your money and everything like that. So actually, to give Brazil a chance to increase their wealth, their national wealth, and to increase the status of the national people in terms of healthcare, education and happiness and finances, I can't see that as a bad thing. Or at least I can't put myself in the position to say, stop bettering yourself. And finally, for those who want to bitch about fire, it's fine, but we should all actually demand that if we're going to donate money to this, instead of putting the fires out, perhaps we just invest or help invest in a better system of fire prevention maybe, or fire monitoring, so that we can actually find out the actual statistics, to try and build some actual science around it, to actually make an action plan. And that's me done. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Take care, goodbye, and I'll see you next time.